I am architect Professor Alfred Omenya. I am a professor of architecture, currently professor at the University of Canberra in Australia. I'm also professor of architecture at Kenyatta University in Kenya. I run a practice also called EcoBuild Africa that does architecture and environmental design of buildings. I currently serve as a board member representing developing countries in the International Building Quality Center based in Washington, D.C. And I also sit as a chair of Education, Innovation and Research Committee of the College of Fellows of the Architectural Association of Kenya, amongst others. Of course, I've also been a judge of literally all the architecture competitions globally. I've been a judge of the International Union of Architects competition. I was a judge of the Commonwealth, lead judge of the Commonwealth Architecture competition. And for the last 2 years, I've been a judge of the Asia Architecture Awards competition. Of course, I started in Kenya. I was also a judge in the Kenya Architecture Awards called the Crown Architecture Awards. I was registered as an architect in the year 2000, but effectively I started practicing in the year 2008, 2009, partly because I went to study architecture, postgraduate studies out of the country in Alfred University in Johannesburg, and I also did my doctoral work there, and started teaching. Yes, so I was doing a bit of practice there through other firms, but EcoBuild Africa itself was registered in 2007. That's when I started getting into my own private practice. But prior to that, I was an architect at Planning Systems Services in Nairobi here. Did a number of well-known buildings. I did Rental Trust, I did Citibank, I did I&M building. I worked on Zanzibar Serena Inn, I did Uganda House in Kampala, and a number of other notable projects. Yeah. Yes, definitely I have noticed that, and both from practice and in the academy. Mm-hmm. So we are seeing students designing a lot more of flat buildings, roof buildings. At the same time in practice, we are seeing a lot of flat roofs generally. As I mentioned, I've been a judge actually of architecture awards across the whole world. So you also see that there's been significant, change in terms of very many schemes being flat roofed. Not just Kenya, but you see that in India, you see that in South Africa, you see that in Latin America, and so on. In fact, in Europe, with all the snow, you start seeing a much higher uptake of flat roof buildings. Okay. Yeah, if I can give you a quick history of architecture. I used to teach history of architecture. The modern architectural buildings come from a time that we call, under school we call Bauhaus in Berlin, in Germany. And what is interesting is that school had small buildings that were actually flat roofs. Yeah. Then the issue was about abstraction, and there's a lot of focus on creating the architecture as an object, an art object. Mm-hmm. So we saw quite a lot of flat roofs coming from that particular period of time, and quite a lot of world famous buildings, the Falling Water and so on, were actually flat roofed. So you're looking at from around 1920 till around 1960s and so on. Of course, flat roofs continued in different formations and so on, but we started seeing them disappearing. And likely a lot of that, particularly in the tropics of places like Kenya, a lot of it was had to do with a lot of people not being able to put good quality buildings in place, and flat roofs became expensive in terms of waterproofing ideas and so on. And then we started seeing a lot more people just opting for pitch roofs. In fact, we even saw flat roofs being converted into pitch roofs, people just covering them with iron sheets and so on. And it's pretty interesting because it was like a loss of skill altogether in terms of how this was being done. In fact, you can link it, liken it almost with traditional African buildings, where at some point people lost the skill of thatching and so on. So it's like we stopped, we actually forgot how we used to do flat roofs. Yes, and then we start seeing a resurgence of flat roofs globally. Of course, the Kenya market also being affected quite a bit. You know, in the 90s now, and coming to the current times. At that time, we were seeing that there was a shift in the architectural style. There was quite a bit of the postmodern that was going back to the modernist architecture that had a lot of flat roofs as an expression, and people then deviating from, say, the older Victorian that was based on pitch roof and so on. And we start seeing people then coming back and reinventing the flat roof through the postmodern design and quite a bit of deconstruction. A lot of those roofs were actually flat. That movement was happening in Europe. That movement was happening in the US. A lot of that was happening in South Africa. So a lot of modern buildings, the buildings that tended to be trendy, top TV programs like Top Billing, were showcasing these particular buildings and so on. We started seeing younger professionals who are more exposed, who are very well traveled and so on, then opting for these flat roofs, considering pitch roofs to be more traditional and not reflective of contemporary living styles and so on. Of course, also in terms of a language, buildings were becoming simpler. We're starting seeing interesting swimming pools being incorporated, light verandas, and so on. And basically an aesthetic that was not, I would say, cluttered. Going together with the flat roofs. But I think a lot of that was driven by just changing taste and also exposure of the clientele. But also the schools of architecture were starting to change. But another big thing that happened was that we had a lot of products that were appearing in the market now that could be used for waterproofing. And it wasn't just before the reason why people were being told they couldn't do flat roofs. One was costs, but that was not the major issue. The major issue was the issue of leakages and repairs and so on. But we started seeing firms, companies coming with guarantees, warranties, 20-year warranties, 40-year warranties, saying, fine, we'll come and do your waterproofing. It will never leak. If it leaks, we'll actually come and fix it for a lifetime, literally. So a lot of people were asking, why not? And you can actually enjoy, better quality space. We can enjoy better quality views. We can have a more modern aesthetic. In the architectural profession, sometimes we normally say that, those buildings that in the villages with pitch roofs, so they all look the same. We call them stop suffering. So people could actually then avoid stop suffering architecture and embrace, architecture and style and and a lifestyle that was quite quite contemporary as it actually was. Actually, it was neither. These are products. A lot of the waterproofing is actually done by product supply companies that supply different. We have very many. Dr. Fixit, we have quite a number. And what they do is that they come and tell you, they pitch for waterproofing only. That's the only thing they come to do in your project. And they come and say, fine, we shall actually deliver for you waterproofing. So you don't need to worry. Nobody will sue you as an architect if the house starts leaking, and nobody will sue you as a contractor if the house starts leaking because of poor quality workmanship or mix of concrete or waterproofing. That liability can be taken by a third party who comes to just do waterproofing. And now we have very many. We have more than 20 waterproofing companies operating around. Of course, the first thing with the flat roof building is that it gives you more space. That's the most rudimentary, particularly, and I think that's why it lends itself very well to younger people living in urban areas, because you have the entire roof as entertainment space. Of course, it also gives you better views. Those are luxuries that I think the older generation didn't bother with. That views for them was nothing. I mean, how do you sit there and you're very happy because you saw a sunset or sunrise, or you could see Kilimanjaro from your compound and things like that. But for younger generation, experience is everything, and so that's one thing, and then of course you can entertain, within those spaces and so on. So there's just that one issue of the additional space. Of course, as an environmental designer in a number of places, of course, flat roofs have always been there. In the coast, for example, they were never disrupted. You see, like Lamu has had flat roofs for 1,000 years. Same with Mombasa. Gedi, all those places. Part of the reasons why they were preferred there was just climatic. That if you did your metal roofs, they would actually rust quite quickly and would be corroded from the salt and so on. So if you're building at the coast, it makes sense to just do flat roofs anyway, because your steel is hidden in concrete, and your concrete roof will not actually degenerate compared to your metal roof. Going further on environmental beds, you'd find that in places that are hot, humid or pure hot. If we are looking at places like Kajiado, you're looking at places like again Mombasa or Turkana, or Kisumu, those places where there's huge diurnal range. What that means basically is that your night temperature and your day temperature is very wide. So you end up with very big temperature swings in a building. So if you do a metal roof for let's just call it a metal roof, you actually find that you lose your heat quite quickly, and it also heats up quite quickly. So in terms of what you call thermal comfort, those are actually uncomfortable houses. I always joke with my friends that you put up a big house, in Kisumu or in Turkana and so on, and then you spend your time under a tree.
Yes.
Because your house is actually an oven during the day. You can't stay there, it's quite hot. And then, during the night it's quite cold, but of course you must be in there, so you cover yourself with these additional blankets and so on. So in terms of thermal comfort, concrete basically has a longer time lag. It holds heat a lot longer, and it loses it a lot more slowly. It also heats up a lot more slowly. So during the day, your concrete house roof will actually be cooler most of the day. And during the night, it will actually be warmer. Because that's when the heat that it has time lags over up to 8 to 12 hours, which basically means that your hottest time during the day, the heat is transmitted 12 hours later internally. So with that delay, you find that when people are crying of cold, your place is quite warm, because that is the time that the heat is being transmitted inside. And when people are complaining about the heat, your place is actually quite cold, because the building is actually losing heat and so on. So it does perform quite well from a climate point of view. I mentioned that for hot and hot humid, but it's the same case with the cold temperate or highland climate like that of Nairobi. Same story, because your metal roof, you have to really insulate it so that you don't freeze in July. But I mean, if you have a flat roof, basically half of the problem is sorted. The rest can actually be sorted through design. So there are actually advantages from an environmental perspective of doing flat roofs as opposed to conventional roofs. Yes, what doesn't work about it actually is that it's more costly.
Yes, okay, that's what I was
generally it's a little bit more costly than, and it's not that flat roofs are costly, it's only that the Kenyan economy and the way it's structured has made flat roofs costly. What do I mean? Flat roofs is basically reinforced concrete, and the cost of cement and the cost of steel has gone up disproportionately compared to, say, the cost of timber and the cost of of metal roof covering. So that means that when you're building a flat roof, you spend quite you spend a lot more. Of course, it's maintenance free. That's actually a good thing. But of course, if you're doing a tiled roof, flat roofs and tiled roofs are almost the same. Because the amount of money you spend on tiles and the amount of timber that you need to put there to hold the tiles, the battens, and so on, is in fact sometimes more expensive than flat roofs. So although yes, it is more expensive than a pitched metal roof, it's not more expensive than a pitched tiled roof. In fact, a pitched tiled roof is actually more expensive. So that's one of the things that people don't actually that you must consider. That yes, it will actually cost you more. The other one, of course, is the maintenance bit. That not many contractors and fundis know how to do flat roofs properly. Because you have to design it well. You must have your different waterproofing products done properly. You must tile it and so on. Otherwise, you'll end up with legal problems throughout. So that is a major challenge. But like I said before, that can be overcome if your architect wasn't taught by me and is most likely lousy. you then get a product supplier like the APP or Dr. Fixit or these others, and they give you a warranty.
Yeah.
They'll come and do it, you know, regardless of the fundi that you're actually using. They'll give you a warranty. They'll ensure it's done properly. So really, it's not a problem. It's more just your choice as an individual. The third thing I want to say is that we also have flat roofs. We also have flat looking roofs. Yeah, that's different from flat roofs, as we're discussing here. Basically, what that is that you create a parapet around the building, and then you put a very shallow roof. You should put a shallow metal roof. Yeah. So people feel and think that it's actually a flat roof. Yeah. But of course, technically speaking, it really isn't a flat roof because it's just a roof with a shallow pitch. But of course, once that pitch goes below 10 degrees, then we consider it a flat roof. If it's a metal roof, we just consider it a metal flat roof. And again, we do have products in the market that can actually deal with that.
Yes.
Specifically made for very very low pitch roofs. So my point is that now, if you really want to make a fashion statement with flat roofs, you have all those options.
Yes.
If you have money, you can do a proper concrete roof and do the waterproofing and finish it with tiles and create your gazebos there and your pergolas and do your entertainment things like that. If you just like the aesthetic, but maybe you don't have the money, then in fact you can do a flat looking roof. You can do a nice parapet, do a low metal roof on it. If everybody walking down there will look at it as a flat roof, but it actually isn't. It's normal metal roof. But again, I mean, if you want to do your traditional pitch roof, again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and one can still make a statement with it. For me, it's not either or. For me, simply it's about the client preference and having a competent enough architect who can give you buildings that are not suffering. Yes. The stop suffering buildings. So they can give you buildings that you can tell this is a designer building, it's a beautiful building, but it's actually a pitched a roof building as it were. Actually, it doesn't. Good design for flat roofs also incorporates drainage. It's only that you have to design that drainage in a particular way. Sometimes you run the drainage pipes through the columns, so nobody sees the pipes. But yes, I mean, they're there. Because you see, just like with roads and so on, if you expose concrete to a lot of water, it will actually, water will eventually weaken it. So you need to maintain, number one, you need to have enough drainage. You need to lay this to slope. You need to do proper concrete gutters, large enough to take care of huge amounts of rain. Otherwise, you end up with a situation where if it's raining heavily, then as you've described correctly, first it fills up, and then because your outlets are very small, then water keeps dripping there. So that's a design issue. You must ensure that you size your drainage, your downpipes properly, so that you have no water actually lying on top of the flat roof. So like part of the challenge of flat roof is actually just poor design and poor specification as exactly why that you find that somebody has created this big roof is all flat, but meanwhile they've created like 2 drainage points or 4 drainage points at the corners and so on. There's no maintenance, so leaves come in and they block all those drains, then water comes in, they flood the place. Before you know it, you start seeing stains on the parapet walls and so on. Of course, since the water is being held there, water will always find a way. Before you know it, then there's a breach of the waterproofing and so on. So despite all this, you need to design properly. You need to do proper sizing of your drainage, and then you also need to do normal maintenance so that you don't end up with blockages, for your drainage and so on. I wouldn't worry about it I wouldn't worry too much about thieves. I thought we were talking about safety. You're talking about children.
Oh, no. So
thieves don't need to be safe. In fact, with them they can fall off. Anyway, I know it was you. You're talking about your own safety.
Yes.
Incidentally, flat roofs are safer from a theft burglary point of view because nobody can cut through reinforced concrete. Normally, it's a tapestry of steel and concrete in between, so you can't actually breach it at that particular point. Of course, by the time the thief gets to the roof, Really, he has to be a very foolish thief because he could have broken the doors. Why are you climbing up there?
Yes.
And you can't even get in from up because all you need to do now is that you just need to put a proper security door from the stairs that access that place. So if the thief is from outside, even from a bungalow, it would be quite difficult to access because you are still talking about 4 meters, 3.5 to 4 meters. So this guy must bring a ladder, must get his friend to whatever, then he climbs on top there. On top where he's climbing, he can't even get into the house from there. So I wouldn't advise thieves to try getting into flat roofs through the roof. It is stupid. It is easier to break the door down there rather than climb up. And then of course, in fact, it's the reverse. That pitch roof, when you're doing safety buildings, people are concerned about safety. What they normally ask us to do is either to do a flat concrete roof, then you do a pitch on top of it. Because it's very easy for thieves to just come and remove the sheets or in tiles and then get into the house from there. Yeah, it's easier to breach. But if you have a concrete roof, it's different. In fact, even some pitch roofs, some of the clients says that cast it in concrete and then put tiles on top of the concrete so that there's actually no breach. So it is relatively safe. The only issue would be the other way around. That I mean, if say you're entertaining or the children are playing up there, then they climb and jump down. But of course, what one does in those sort of situations is put your normal safety. You'll have your railings and so on. So I mean, somebody who climbs over the railing and jumps down is somebody who will climb out of the window and jump down. It will be difficult. It's like what the Swahili say, chakufa, alina da or something like that. So I don't see, and I've never really had a safety concern at all with the flat roofs. I have to confess I've got more than one home. So yes and no. I've a home. The one next to the office is flat.
Yes.
That's a flat roof. I've another home near here, which is a concrete roof. It's a concrete shallow pitch roof with tiles. Then I have a home that is pitched. So that's a rural home. Down in Kisumu. So but basically what it is, that's not for me and my aesthetics. The way I design is there's something I normally consider. I call it the spirit of place. So when I'm doing my rural home, I'm more interested in how people build generally in those areas, how people build traditionally. In fact, my gazebo there is actually grass thatched because it's local material, is linked with sustainability. The roof is pitched. There's a green pitched roof, it's in the woods and stuff like that. Generally disappear there. The more urban one, again, I want to make a slightly different statement. I'm trying to say, this is a modern place. It is, So that's how I approach architecture. Really, that there's no absolute architecture. You can actually do a classical building with moldings and so on. As long as the context is right, it would actually look great. And at the same time, you can do the conventional pitched stuff. And we've done, in fact, the two biggest, it's very interesting, the two biggest buildings we've done here, we did a building in Karen that's about 1,500 square meters. That's 15,000 square feet of space. And it's pitched roof, 45 degrees, very, very, very steep. The other building we're doing, which will be the biggest one, is being constructed now. Once we've done about 1,600 square feet in Kisumu with a swimming pool, both have swimming pools, is flat pitched. It's just a style. You can do bungalows, you can do maisonette, you can do tall buildings, flat roofs. Just like pitched roofs will actually work with any. I think there was always that thing that you do flat roofs on maisonettes. That's not true. In fact, now we're doing a lot of flat roofs on bungalows.